Hi guys, it's Tamara with Homegrown Devotion Homestead. I hope you guys have had a great Sunday. I wanted to kind of just get together and chat about homeschool. And I wanted to share a little bit about our homeschool and what brought me to homeschooling and all of that wonderfulness. And I do apologize. I have a few notes down here that I want to make sure that I touch on, or however it happens. So if I look down, that's exactly what I'm looking at. And also, please forgive me. I am not a pro with the camera. I honestly have no idea. Am I supposed to be chest level? Is it supposed to be on the table? Should you see my whole torso? I have no idea. So I'm working that out too. So thank you for your patience and your grace. We are 3 weeks into homeschooling this year. We started a week or two behind our friends, but we are going strong. I have 3 children that I'm homeschooling. I have a 3rd grader, a 2nd grader, a kindergartner, and I also have a 2-year-old that is in the mix during our day. And that is one of the struggles, first of all. It is one of the struggles I deal with because it's really hard sometimes to keep the 2-year-old occupied while I homeschool the other one. So I've been trying to get creative with the time with her so that everybody gets exactly what they need, including her, and mommy doesn't lose her mind during the whole process. So that's been fun. About 15 years ago, I used to work at my church office, and one of the pastors, knowing that I was in school for my credentials and just working really hard, I went to a school that was 6 weeks on per class. So each class was 6 weeks, and it was intense, but I didn't have any other responsibilities besides working, and so I could do it. And he would come up to me during the day and he would say, Tamara, what if when you get married, your husband just wants you to stay home and, take care of your home and take care of your kids? And I couldn't understand why he would ask me that question. He asked me, would I be willing to do it? And I was like, well, why would he want me to do that? If I'm working hard and, getting these student loans and pushing through school, like, why would I stay home? And he waited about a month or so. And the next time God put it on his heart to ask me, he asked me again, would you stay home if your husband wanted you to? What if he wanted you to homeschool the kids? What if God put it on your heart or changed your heart about, working in the classroom and just maybe working at your house? And I just baffled me. And I just asked, I answered it the same way. I was just like, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess God will change my heart if that's the case, but that's not where I'm at right now. And just and he asked me again. And I'm telling you, that 3rd time he asked me, I was a little irritated because I was like, why? Like, why am I working hard if this is going to end up in nothing? Like, that was my initial attitude, which I know is very immature. But at the time, that was my initial thought. I couldn't understand why God would have me on this path of working hard for this when it would all change and then I'd be doing this. I couldn't. And I wasn't a big person with change, and that's another story for another time. However, that's exactly what God did. Right? When I had my first child, when I had him and I had him in my arms and I was looking at him, it was very clear to my heart that I was supposed to stay home with him. And I actually was on a leave of absence for my work. And I knew God was telling me, he spoke to both me and my husband, and I knew he was telling us that I was going to stay home. And so that's what we did. We stayed home. I stayed home. My husband still went to work. Somebody had to work, right? So God made it very clear that that's the plan that he had for us. Like, he wanted me to stay home. He wanted me to use whatever experience I got during school and also in my time substituting at a private school and teaching after school and doing all those things. He wanted me to use that for my children, which I never would have imagined that was going to be the end result, but this is what he did. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I had a lot of friends that homeschooled, not everybody, but while I was single and maybe freshly married and had my first child, I had a few friends that homeschooled. And I saw it, and I never understood how I could do that. Though I had the education, none of that matters, honestly. None of that matters when it comes to schooling your own children. I'm not saying that it is not beneficial sometimes, but it's not important. It's not important because you'll find that if you decide to homeschool or if you're on the fence, once you cross over that fence, that it's totally different than a regular classroom. And I think that when I first started homeschooling, when my 8-year-old was in kindergarten and we first started homeschooling, I tried to mimic my homeschool like a classroom, what I was used to. And let me tell you, neither one of us liked it. It was too much work. It was stressful. It was getting this kindergartner to do a lot of work that he wasn't able to do, and both of us were getting frustrated. And my prayer was just like, Lord, show me what I'm doing wrong. Show me how to separate what I once knew and was taught so much. How do I separate that to give my child what he needs and to do what you have called me to do? And he did. He surrounded me with people who were a little further on the journey than I was, which I think is very important. If you are interested in homeschooling, or if you are just curious, talk to somebody that has done it. Talk to somebody that's 3 years in, talk to somebody who's 10 years in, talk to somebody who has graduated their children, because there is encouragement on all of those levels. And I have friends at all of those levels, and I'm so thankful for them. I'm able to pick their brain. I'm able to see how they handled situations and then kind of mimic for our school and see what works best for me and our children. So I think it's a great resource to have. So find those people. I also want to say that it's a continual learning process. If you meet somebody who homeschools and they're like, oh, I got it down, oh, it's perfect, so easy. No, they've struggled. We all do. It's struggling finding the perfect curriculum. Once you find it, great, you stick with that curriculum. It's struggling sometimes finding out how your children learn best. You know, if you have multiple children, I have 3 children that I'm teaching right now. That's 3 different personalities, 3 different grades. It's a lot sometimes. It is a lot. So if you meet somebody, or if you have somebody in life who just has it all together, oh no, we got it down, like it's perfect, it never struggled, then they're not being honest with you, because we all struggle. So we find our groove eventually. You find out what you like, you find out what your children like, and you kind of stick with that. But there's always ups and downs. I'm going to be honest with you. There have been many a times where we have canceled the school. Me has canceled the school day. Listen, people aren't listening. Nobody's doing the work. Mama's getting frustrated. We're done. Today is canceled. Wednesday has been canceled. And I think it's okay to do that. It's okay to take a step back during the day when things are not working, or if everybody's having a rough day, people didn't get good sleep, somebody's not feeling well, whatever it is, you're able to take a step back, cancel the day, find something to do as a family, love on each other, and then come back to it tomorrow. And I think that's the freedom of homeschool. So that's one of the things that I really love that we're able to do. There's something else that has been on my heart about homeschooling, and I saw a comment on, I don't know if it was Instagram, there was a homeschool post, and she was encouraging homeschoolers and just kind of, sharing her heart. And one of the girls that commented on this homeschool post, which was, mind you, just encouraging to everybody else, she commented, and she took it personal, and she just basically said that it's easy for you to say, it's easier for you to be encouraging because you're living a privileged life. And that kind of struck me, because in one way I am privileged, right? Like, I'm able to stay home with my children and see them grow. I'm able to be a part of their schooling. I'm able to know exactly what they're learning and have control over that, right? So in that way, I'm privileged. But homeschooling and staying at home with my children, that's a sacrifice. I'm not rolling in the dough. We live very frugally. We save. There are things we can't do. My husband works, we have 1 income and 4 children. So we have to be very smart with our money. We're not taking vacations. We don't drive new cars. We don't eat out. I make as many things from scratch as I possibly can to save our family money. I barter with people for things that I need or that I want. There are so many things that I do to try to make up for the lack of having 2 incomes. So homeschoolers or people that are staying home with their children, we're not privileged where we're just rolling in dough. There may be a couple, but not anybody I know. Usually it's a 1 income family with multiple children. So I think that myth needs to be debunked. It needs to be fake news, right? It's like, we may be able to go to the park during the day because we homeschool, but also we're not taking vacation. So there's our vacation. And even in that, I would not choose another path. I wouldn't. I'm constantly learning with my children. I'm on a path of sanctification. Obviously, with this whole journey of teaching them. And I'm like, Lord, help me to make it to the graduation. Like I said, I have friends who have kids that graduated, and I'm like, how did you do it? Like, oh, congratulations, friend, good job. Because it's encouraging. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, we're doing this for a purpose. And one more thing that I want to remind you, a couple more things, but the most important thing is that God is going to give you all that you need to teach your children. He is. He doesn't leave the hard stuff to us. He is going to give you all that you need to teach your children. Those children were given to you specifically. He didn't make any mistakes when he chose you to be their mom or dad. He did not make any mistakes. He knew exactly the plan that he had for your family. And he gave you those children because he knew that you were going to be exactly what they needed. So God is going to do the hard work, and he's going to give you everything that you need for them. You just got to die to yourself sometimes. And that's probably the hardest thing, thinking that you know exactly what to do when really it could be opposite of what God has for your homeschool, for your home. So that's the most important thing. But no one has it all figured out. I don't have it figured out. Every day I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. You know what I just learned? I have a friend who does planners for her children. And mind you, she has, I don't know their ages. Her youngest is a couple years older than my oldest. But my kids are able to, they can read and they can have a planner. So when I do things in advance for them, I can lay it all out for them, and then they could take care of it themselves. That was a great idea that I took from her. Nobody has it figured out. You're going to learn these things along the way, and you're going to pick what works best for you. Don't let anybody discourage you either. Don't let anybody make you feel like, oh, your children are not going to be socialized. If you ever meet my children, they are very socialized, and they can hold a conversation like a 30-year-old. My children are, I'm not biased because I love them, but they are very smart kids, and they also are very sociable. They're not scared to talk to adults. They can carry conversations. They can tell you facts that they stump me sometimes. And I taught them, and I'm like, what? They learn, the way children learn is just amazing, and it's so God-given. So don't worry about those things. Don't worry about what people are going to say about your children are going to be not socialized, or they're going to be weird. I'm sure there's weird kids all over the place, but that's not something you need to worry about. You just have to do what God is calling you to do, no matter who agrees with you or who doesn't agree with you. And he's going to give you everything that you need to do it. So our homeschool is, we start in the morning, we work for a couple hours, and we finish, and we try to have fun. I try to always make it fun for them. It's not always fun, but I try to. We get out during the week. We take little field trips to the zoo, or we go to the museum. My kids love going to the museum, and they learn, which is part of school. And it's everyday life. Homeschooling is everyday life. It's when you're cooking, they're learning measurements. They're learning to cook. When you're outside, they're learning bugs. They're looking at the clouds. They're learning what the different clouds mean. It's intense in a beautiful way, and it's so freeing. So be encouraged. If I can do it, you can do it. Don't let anybody make you feel like you are incapable or incapable of doing it, because you are very capable. And you don't need to have a 4-year education to homeschool your kids. It's just life. And there are many things put into place to help you. There are co-ops. Look in your area for co-ops where people get together and they do different field trips and activities. They even have class days where you can go and sign your kids up for science class. Or do they like to cook? A cooking class. They even have classes where kids can learn to ride horses and to knit and all those little extra activities that kids like to do that you may not even be able to teach them. Or math. Maybe math is not your strong suit and you're like, dang, what am I going to do? You know what? Get a class day. Group of parents that get together where each parent teaches something, and you can have somebody else teach your math. It's going to work out. I believe it. I believe in you. You can do it. But if God is putting it on your heart, do not be scared to step out. Know that he is going to provide everything that you need to do everything that he has called you to do. I hope you're encouraged. And you'll see more about my homeschooling as the channel continues to grow. And if you have any questions, let me know. Some days are definitely easier than others, but you know what? It's all worth it in the end. I hope you're encouraged. I hope that you also leave here knowing that you can do it and have a little more confidence in what God is calling you to do. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining me.